Okay, welcome to our class about immune support. This is not our first class on the subject, and it probably won't be our last considering on what's going on in the world, but we want to make sure that you are armed and dangerous, I don't know, maybe dangerous, on tools in your arsenal of ways to stay healthy. So I would be remiss in just talking about essential oils here. So I want to first off start talking about things you probably know, but maybe don't want to hear. But what we eat has a huge impact on our immune system. So I actually started my journey into natural wellness through nutrition. And so it's a huge hotspot for me where I feel like I can give you a quick fix with oils, but for long-term health, you have to have a healthy diet. That's just, it is the way that it is. We have these plants and animals on earth for a reason. So I'm a big fan of eating primal, which means kind of as close to the earth as possible, right? As ideally one step away or not very many steps away. So if you look up primal eating, it's kind of, like raw milk, pastured meats, lots of healthy proteins, lots of good vegetables, organic vegetables, no refined sugars. Wheat is not the wheat that it used to be. So I'm not a big fan of wheat. We do not eat any wheat in our family at all, and very few grains actually, as they are inflammatory foods. And when your body is inflamed, it can get sick more often. Lots of things, lots of illnesses, not just viruses, but inflammation in your joints, inflammation in your heart, inflammation in your lungs, all the things. So I know that those of you who are in WhatsApp chats are probably sick of hearing me say cut out wheat and sugar, but I will probably say it till the day that I die. Okay, so first of all, diet. The second is vitamin D. Whether that means you're taking a supplement, vitamin D, Young Living does have a great vitamin D supplement, or you are getting at least 20 minutes if you're in the US, probably only 10 minutes if you're in South Africa, in direct sunlight. I say that because you guys are much closer to the equator than we are in South Africa. So vitamin D is so important. And then washing your hands, I don't know why this became like this newfound thing that everyone has to be told to wash their hands. Like, we should always be washing our hands. Like, every time we come into the house from outside, we wash our hands. When we touch something that someone else has touched. I mean, it's not that I'm afraid of germs. It's just that I want to not expose myself to extra germs that I need. But the key is not using yucky soaps. So I would in fact, my children know if we're out somewhere and I don't have hand soap with me, we wash our hands in hot water and we dry them, and we do not use the soap there, because the antibacterial soaps, the soaps with all of the chemicals in them, they do more to harm your immune system than they do to help your immune system. So run from anything that says antibacterial, run from fragrances. Those are highly toxic to our bodies and do not help us stay well. I encourage you to throw some hand soap in your handbag or your backpack or whatever you carry around, or wash with hot water and use a good hand sanitizer, whether you make your own or you use, we have great hand sanitizers at Young Living that don't have yucky chemicals in them, that actually support our immune system. So if we do these things every day, when a virus comes around, whatever the virus's name may be, we don't have to live in fear, because we have the tools that we need. And that is what the most important thing I want you guys to take from this call is, that we don't need to be living in fear. There are billions and billions of viruses and bacteria in the world, and we're going to encounter them. We've encountered them our entire lives, and we will continue to encounter them for the rest of our lives. So we just need to know what the tools are to stay well, because I definitely believe in what's called terrain theory versus germ theory, which means if you have a healthy body, your terrain, you can encounter things that are viruses and bacteria that don't really impact you because your terrain is healthy. So what is the right amount of some of these things, and what should we do? So vitamin D, I highly recommend at least 10,000 IU a day, or a more absorbable vitamin D, which we have at Young Living. It's more absorbable than most of the synthetic Ds that are out there, and 5,000 for children. I do that. I've been doing that for probably 15 years before all this. Like, I've always taken that much. The only exception to that is when I'm on vacation and I'm at the beach, then I cut that back in half. I take 5,000 a day when I'm at the beach. So I'm a huge proponent of vitamin D, super, super important. And then getting antioxidants into our bodies. So if you are new to Young Living and you've never heard of Ningxia Red, reach out to the person who sent you here. It is an amazing supplement. Anyone knows who's been drinking it that when they stop drinking it, they feel a huge difference in their immune system. I can tell you that in the last 7 years, I think, I've gotten sick twice. One of those times was when I was traveling and I did not take Ningxia Red with me. I was exposed to lots of germs on airplanes and things like that, and I didn't have my tools. So I learned my lesson. I travel with it now. So who are people that are susceptible to any kind of virus or not feeling well? People who are immunocompromised. Well, we become immunocompromised and we don't take care of our bodies, right? And we are exposed to lots of toxins, so we want to cut those out. Older adults, their glutathione levels drop, their vitamin D levels drop, and we're going to talk about that. People who smoke, people whose hydrochloric acid is low in their body, which you can remedy very easily with a splash of apple cider vinegar and some citrus oils in your water. So easy to do. So if your hydrochloric acid is low, you may be getting a lot of reflux or GERD. I drink apple cider vinegar every single morning, first thing when I wake up. I put warm water in a cup, apple cider vinegar, and some citrus oils. If your vitamin D is low, like I mentioned, glutathione levels are low. What boosts glutathione levels? Citrus oils. If your thyroid is not operating properly, and we have tools for thyroid support. So if you haven't heard of Endoflex and Nutmeg before, they're going to be your besties. And vitamin C. So there's lots of vitamin C supplements that Young Living has. As far as supplements, our vitamin C also has zinc in it, which is great. And as well as Ningxia Red has a lot of vitamin C in it. And then there are a lot of oils that have virus digesting properties, I'll say it that way. And so we can get into that in a little bit because I know we have lots of stories about that. Okay, so if you are curious about looking up what to do for different things, use your Pocket on the Go app or the new reference guide for Young Living Essential Oils that we've been sending around to look up oils for viruses. And you can look at things like malaria. That's a really good thing to look up in those reference guides because a lot of these things are the same, have a lot of the same properties as to what is going on around in the world right now that everyone's on all the news stations. So, okay, let's see here. I'm going to just talk about some heavy hitters for immune support. I've mentioned Ningxia Red already. There's also a supplement that we have which is new in South Africa. If you're in South Africa, if you're in the US, we've had it for a while. It's called Inner Defense. And to this time, if you have been using oils, you know that we kind of you can make a version of that in a capsule yourself, which we're going to talk about. This is actually an enterically coated capsule, so it actually doesn't break down until it's in your gut. It doesn't break down higher. So it kind of depends on where things are that you're trying to address of whether or not you'd want to make your own capsule maybe or take an Inner Defense. And then also we have in the US an awesome Thieves cough drops and Thieves lozenges that have the power of the Thieves oil that you can just suck on it, which is really nice. You can make a DIY version of that if you don't have access to that yet. And then Super B. Super B is a supplement in the States, which is amazing B complex. It has a lot of oils that help support the immune system as well. Okay, I think I mentioned everything else I wanted to. Okay, other thing I wanted to mention is Multigreens is a supplement which has not only Melissa oil, which is one of the most virus digesting oils in the world, I'll say it that way, but it also has iodine in it. And iodine is really supportive to the immune system and to the thyroid. And then there's another supplement, which hopefully will be back in stock in short order, called ImmuPro, which has a bunch of mushrooms that have immune supportive mushrooms, as well as melatonin in it, which melatonin has been shown good if you're fighting something off. It's not something I recommend taking every day though, because the more often you take it, the less melatonin your body will produce on its own. So you don't really want to go there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste in the chat some of the best single oils and blends, because there's many of them that have properties to fight viruses and bacteria. I think I'm going to hand off now, because a lot of the things that I have recommendations for, we have stories for today. So I'm going to hand it first to Carrie, who is a naturopath. And so she is a practitioner and I actually a homeopath, I think, actually a homeopath. Carrie, I'm going to hand to you, and then you can kind of tell your background and what you've learned. Are you there, Carrie? Did we lose you? I saw her there earlier.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I am a qualified and registered homeopath and therapeutic massage therapist. I qualified in South Africa. I'm currently living in Israel at the moment. We made Aliyah this year. We moved to Israel this year. In March, during the crazy madness of Corona, I ran a successful practice in Johannesburg for many years, and at the moment, in Israel, I've actually just started trying to build up my practice here and studying Hebrew at the same time. So my focus is sort of divided at the moment. So I've started just using Young Living oils now. I think it's been a few months now, and they've really been amazing. So let me just tell you a little bit about my background and my health journey, which actually started many years ago. It's probably more than 30 years ago, I think at the age of 14. Now you know my age. I moved with my family to Houston, Texas. As Ellie, I think we have a common friend. Anyway, with the intention of immigrating, but 6 months later, we had to move back to South Africa. And my exposure at the time to all the delicious calorie-packed refined foods, coupled with my stage at puberty, caused me to gain about 10 kilos at the time, which was a lot for me, as I'm quite petite, so I've got a very small frame. And I was always a skinny child. During the flight home, we had to move back 6 months later. I got hold of a health and fitness magazine, and I literally read it from cover to cover. And it emphasized the importance of healthy eating, exercise, and drinking plenty of water. And I got off the plane in South Africa determined to lose the weight. And 6 months later, after following the advice of some of the articles, I was fit and slim again. So fast forward about 11 years from then, after studying for 5 years, us writing a thesis for 1 year, I qualified as a homeopath. And while studying, I worked part-time at a homeopathic pharmacy, which most people from South Africa know as the Walida Pharmacy. This was going back in the 1990s. So I was exposed to all the latest health supplements and remedies that were on the market at the time. I also completed a few different massage courses and started my massage journey during that time as well. And then before and subsequent to starting my practice, I completed a reflexology course as well as a few modules in shiatsu. Anyway, after many years of practice, I eventually found my niche by combining all my learned modalities. And I started focusing on treating women with neck and back pain, headaches, chronic sinus, IBS, and then just plain stress. We all lead stressful lives. And then also, people that were getting sick all the time, lowered immune systems. And then I also had a passion for pediatrics with homeopathy specifically. And I developed workshops for mommies that included a remedy kit and a self-help booklet. So I was very passionate about self-help, you know, always trying to educate my patients about health and, you know, all different things that they can use for the immune system. Kind of just I was very passionate about giving over my passion of homeopathy. So yes, a few months ago, I started using the Young Living oils, and it really added a new dimension to my home and my practice. Well, my practice in Israel, which I'm still building up. And so tonight's topic of the immune system, besides healthy eating and healthy lifestyle habits, we also need to focus on reducing stress levels, because high stress levels can be a main contributing factor towards the development of weakened immune system and can predispose us to catching colds and flu more frequently. And we all know that adequate sleep and healthy eating can strengthen our immune systems, but this is not always possible. We may have a work deadline and we may have to work through the night. We may have little kids keeping us up all night. Our days can be crazy, especially if your mom rushing around, you're working, you've got your kids, and eating on the run. So not everyone is always eating enough fruit and vegetables, drinking enough water, and doing the things that we're supposed to be doing in order to keep our immune system strong. And over time, these things can weaken our immune system. So I've found in my practice that massage therapy can play a major role in helping to alleviate stress, tension, and pain. And over the past few months, I've incorporated many different essential oils, or more than I used to, during my treatments. And I've also sent my patients home with an oily combination, where I've combined a few oils that I've used in the massage, and then combined it and sent them home with it to use at home. And I found that the combination of lavender, frankincense, and Vala to be a very effective combination for helping with stress, worry, anxiety, and insomnia. First, it smells amazing and helps to induce relaxation. And I actually have been using Vala every morning. I put a drop on my on my wrists, and I rub it on my neck and the back of my neck, and I absolutely love the smell, and I find it to be very calming and invigorating. It's made up of 5 essential oils, including frankincense, as well as geranium and blue tansy. And geranium is also one of my favorite smelling oils. There are some studies that actually have been done to show that geranium can be very effective for anxiety, amongst many other health benefits. So also the other oil that I use is the frankincense, which is also found in Vala. And there was a 2008 study that showed that frankincense and lavender combination really helps improve anxiety, depression, and pain in people with terminal cancer. So there are a lot of studies that I've looked into regarding the oils, and after trying them out in my practice and on myself, I can see huge benefits in helping with relaxation and sleep. And then, of course, we all know the benefits of lavender oil and how it has a very relaxing and calming effect on the nervous system. So those oils I absolutely love. I've actually always used lavender oil in my practice. I've always combined it with my massage oils. And then I just wanted to tell you a little story about a few weeks ago. My daughter actually fell ill. I think she just caught a really bad cold, but it started on a Friday afternoon. And she wanted to go out on the Friday nights. She usually meets with her friends and they walk around, and it's been really cold here in Israel. And she came down she started with a cold, and on Saturday morning she felt awful. She had the typical cold symptoms, could have also been a bit of a flu, stuffy nose, sore throat, aches and pains. She really felt awful. So I immediately gave her some Thieves. It's also a remedy actually in the starter kit of Young Living essential oils. And I made her some chamomile tea, which is very calming. And I added a few drops of Thieves oil. And I gave it to her about every 2-3 hours. And I also massaged the Thieves into her feet, into certain reflex points of her feet. And the oils are actually very well absorbed through the feet. And then we tried some Raven. Raven is a really nice combination for the upper respiratory tract, for sinuses, blocked nose, respiratory infections. And I got her to make a scent tent where she added a few drops of oil to the palm of her hand, rubbed her hands together, and inhaled the oil. And it really helped to open up her sinuses. I also massaged a bit of the Vela on her sinus points on her face, on her neck, and on her glands. And also on the lung and sinus points on her feet. And then, of course, throughout the day, she really had a good rest. And I gave her some vitamin C. She cut out sugar. And she did all the things that one should do when one has a cold or flu. I also gave her a herbal antimicrobial. And by the evening, she was so much better. So it really made a huge difference. I found that adding the Raven, which has got eucalyptus in, really made a huge difference with her sinuses. And that it helps to drain her sinuses, which then helps her postnasal drip, and that helps to alleviate the pain in her throat. Because often the pain in the throat can be from a postnasal drip as opposed to actual throat infection. So Thieves, which is the Young Living oil combination, has got quite a few different oils. And one of the oils that's in Thieves is clove, which studies have shown have got really good anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. So what else? So we added also, I gave her vitamin C and the usual combination of supplements that I would give to my patient, along with, usually I would give homeopathic remedies. But this time I decided to try the oils, and I also gave a probiotic. And I think later on in this talk, somebody's going to be talking about gut health. So I don't want to talk any longer and steal the show, but I think we're moving over to Bianca.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting. I'm going to show you how to make a wellness capsule for your to support your immune system. So I still got these capsules from America, but you can get them in South Africa at any pharmacy. And I like the bigger size one. So they are quite nice to get a lot of oils in, depending on what your need is. So yeah, I actually ordered 2 of these from the US. And then a nice idea is to get a totally clean sponge out of your cupboard, and then with the scissors, make a nice hole in it for your capsules to stand in. So I just want to firstly make mention that the last time that I had antibiotics was in April 2019. So let's just that sink in for a minute, in April 2019. And then the only time that I ever got sick after that was November last year. And I thank these oils to that. So yes, I have not visited the GP ever during the time that I've had my oils. I helped myself with my oils at home to get better. So I am just going to take the top one off. Then what I normally do is The oils that does not taste so good, I put in first, and I leave the lemon for last. Because if some of the oil do get out of the capsule, you will actually just taste lemon and not oregano or thieves or lemongrass. So I normally line them up and I open all of my bottles. Now I do about 3 drops of each. And then I also have a dropper bottle with some olive oil in it. So it looks like this. And then instead of olive oil, if there's still some space in the capsule left, you can also do a fractionated coconut oil, which you can get at the Skim or your local grocery store in America. You can also do that. So yes, I'm going to just hold it up to the camera so that you can see. I'm going to start with lemongrass. And there's like a little hole in your dropper, which you can just hold your bottle 45 degrees. And I'm going to do 3 drops. Secondly, I'm going to do oregano. But this bottle, guys, I still ordered before we launched in South Africa. We've been in South Africa for a little bit over a year now. And I've got about 1/3 of the bottle left. I only use this in my capsules. So just to show how long a 15 ml bottle of this can actually last you. People normally ask me, how long does it last? I'm like, it depends on how much you're going to use of it. So yes, and then thieves, 3 drops of thieves. If a 4th one goes in, it's not the worst thing. And then lastly, lemon. And if it goes onto the little sponge, that's also okay. Take it out. Oh, I didn't put any carrier oil in, but it's not a must. And then what I normally do is I have these cute little bags. So sometimes I make them ahead of time and I close them up and I put them into the freezer. So I don't take them every day. I only take them up if I feel something's coming along, if my nose is getting really itchy, you know, that burning sensation that you get at the back. I know something is coming along. Especially when you're without Ningxia for a month, guys, South Africans, you will know what I'm talking about right now. Then these are lifesavers when it comes to those times. So yeah, pop them into the freezer, nothing will happen to the oils, and as you need them, take them out and save your little bags to fill new capsules again. So yeah, that's in short how to make a immune support capsule. Next up, why freeze? Just because then you don't have to make one every time. You can just grab one out of the freezer. Actually, well, if they're in the freezer, they might leak out when you put them in the fridge. When you put them in the freezer, they solidify, so they won't leak out of the capsule. Okay, next up is Lara.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to talk about the Wellness Roller. It's my all-time favorite roller, and I rely on it heavily. So I just have a clear glass bottle. I'm not going to fill it in front of you, but I will give you guys the recipe. How we use it is I roll it along the spine and under the feet, and I find the thymus, which is situated here, to be a really good point to use as well. I use it for my whole family, right from my 3-year-old to my parents, and it has thieves, lemongrass, oregano, frankincense, cinnamon, lemon, and tea tree. And what I find is that if somebody is coming down with something, if you nip it in the bud quickly with this wellness roller, and you apply like every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day, in my experience, it's gone by the next day. I also love to use lemon for my kids if they ever get a temperature. So the access point for that is down the spine, and I literally just pull their top like that and drop lemon down their spine, and you know, it's taken down a temperature within 15 minutes. It does sometimes sting, it can sometimes feel hot. Like on my 3-year-old skin, it does sometimes feel hot, so I apply it neat and then I put coconut oil over, and that completely neutralizes it, and he's good. The last thing I want to mention is just how powerful lemongrass is. It's included in this roller, but it's a really reasonable, reasonably priced oil, and it is such a brilliant, brilliant oil. In 2008, there was a study done, and I'm not going to be too sciencey, but it was just a really an interesting study. It was done where they tried 91 different single essential oils on a growth plate with MRSA, Staphylococcus, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus, and lemongrass was the essential oil that was found to completely inhibit the growth of the MRSA virus, which is mind-blowing. So when in doubt, I often just pull out the lemongrass. It is a hot oil, so you'll need to dilute it. But yeah, just always have it in your little oil bag. Yeah, so the wellness roller, if you want to write it down, so I use a 10 ml roller. I've readjusted the drops because I felt it needed to be stronger. So the graphic that went out on our group is slightly less, but so this is the increased dose. I use 12 drops of Thieves, 6 drops of lemongrass, 6 drops of oregano, 6 drops of Frank, 6 cinnamon, 6 lemon, and 6 tea tree. And then you fill the rest of the bottle with either the V6 oil or coconut oil, the MCT, or whatever carrier oil you want to use. So that's me, and next I think is Pam.
Hello everybody. I've got no sciencey stuff today. I'm just going to tell you some stories. I have a really good friend of mine who's an owner of a spice factory, and he got COVID at some point this year, and he really got it really badly that it affected his taste and his smell, and he couldn't get it back even though he'd recovered and he was fine. And he was trying all sorts of medication, and I gave him a bottle of Thieves, and I told him we've got a Thieves protocol, and he decided he would give it a bash, even though he thinks I'm completely off my rocker, and his sense of taste and smell started to come back. Since then, he drinks it daily. He calls it his Thirsty, and he's almost fully recovered. And there's lots of people that haven't recovered, and it was really affecting his business quite badly because he couldn't smell or taste his spices, and that's, you know, his income. And then something completely unrelated to COVID, but very much related to gut health and immune systems. My 3-year-old had molluscum contagiosum, and it's very catchy, very painful, it's awful. He had it in the worst place. He had it right inside his little tush, and it had spread around his cheeks and down his legs and up his back. And it can, like, it's the most horrendous thing. My 11-year-old, when he was little, had it as well, and we were given these horrible toxic medication that we put on him, and he's actually had scars from that stuff that dermatologist gave him. And with the Thieves, I would apply it neat onto his skin, and then straight after I would put on a little hand cream recipe, which we call the miracle cream, which I'll post in the chat straight after. And literally within 2.5 months, we had gotten rid of all of his molluscum. And it usually comes when people's immune systems are low. So Thieves has been the win for us in many ways. We've had lots of aha moments with it, and it's brilliant for your immune system and for lots of other things that happen as a result of a low immune system and poor gut. And that's me, and I'm handing over to Emma.
Hi, so my story too is about Thieves. My family hadn't unfortunately yet been introduced to essential oils. And July this year, my husband was very sick with COVID. So he was in the hospital. Just to give you a little bit idea of background, you know, doctors like your saturation levels to be as close to 100 if possible. by the time he was admitted, his saturation oxygen levels were 45. So we weren't sure he was actually going to make it. And I've got 3 boys, and they were all sick too. And I was just doing my best to try look after them while I was worrying about him. So I wasn't really paying myself too much attention. And it was about a week had gone by, and I suddenly realized that I really was actually symptomatic, and it wasn't just high stress and high anxiety levels, but that I really was short of breath, etc. So I spoke to the doctor who had admitted him, and he said best go for the test and go for chest x-ray. So I was driving back from having the test done, and I was speaking to my mom, and she said, you know, Emma, I've heard of this product called Thieves, and it wasn't hard for me to embrace it because we've always preferred natural remedies. So I was thrilled to be able to get it, and I put myself onto the protocol, and really, and it did turn out to be COVID positive, but thank God, using the Thieves really gave me strength and helped my recovery. And I was incredibly grateful for that. The lady who works for me, she too wasn't feeling well, and she actually says to me, when I gave her the Thieves, she said to me following that, she said, you know, Emma, Thieves saved our lives. And at that point, we hadn't heard of many other people getting COVID, so we didn't know that generally there should be a good recovery. So it was a very unknown, uncertain, scary time, but I really do believe that the Thieves helped me and my immune system get stronger. But my story doesn't end there. Fortunately, my husband recovered, so he was discharged 3 weeks after being in hospital. But when he came home, his lung function was only at 38%. So his doctor, he was on full-time oxygen for many weeks subsequently, but his doctor said it's so important that he's not exposed to any bugs or any flu or any infection, because she just didn't think his lungs would be able to handle it after having had that severe COVID pneumonia experience. And we've really had to be super strict about it. Like, my kids are still all at home, nobody's been out, etc. But we've used Thieves a fortune. I was actually thinking earlier, I should count how many bottles we've been through since then. But it's been our go-to that as soon as either my husband's felt slightly under the weather or any of my kids, we've used Thieves. As Laura mentioned, lemongrass, but I use lemon for my little ones. They're 2 and 3, so I made one last night. I put 8 drops of Thieves, 8 drops of lemon with the carrier, and did it along their spine and under their feet. So it's just become a huge extra thing we call like in our toolkit, but it's empowered us. It's felt so good to have something to turn to when we've had to be so responsible and the risk being so great. So I've just been incredibly grateful for Thieves itself, and obviously we've turned to so many other essential oils during this crazy time to get everyone emotionally back intact, etc. But that's our story with Thieves, and we haven't looked back. So thank you. I'm handing over, I think, to Adi.
Thanks, Emma. Hi, everyone. I'm Adi. I'm so excited to talk to you today about some of these supplements that could help with our immune system, because we've been waiting and waiting for them in South Africa, and now they're here. And I don't think they actually could have come at a better time, with numbers increasing, here in South Africa, and talk of lockdown maybe in January. So I think boosting our immune system is really very important at the moment. So just to build on Bianca's wellness capsule that she makes, we now have our very own capsule. It's called Inner Defense, and you heard Adi talk about it. This is an essential oil, just essential oils and carrier oil. The essential oils in here are our beloved Thieves, as you've heard, lemongrass, which you've heard from Laura, is so amazing, oregano, and thyme. So really powerful essential oils. There are about 8 or 9 drops of essential oil per capsule, and about 3 or 4 drops of carrier oil per capsule. So just every time, I use this all the time. Something that I've been ordering actually from America because we couldn't get it here. And every time I'll wake up and I feel there's that little bit not 100% right, like a scratchy throat or wake up with a blocked nostril or something, I'll take an inner defense tablet or capsule in the morning. Just caution, I would take it with food, because if you take it on an empty stomach, it really does not sit very well. So definitely in the morning with food. And it's not something that I would take every day. I think some people do take it every day to boost the immune system, but it's something that I take when I feel like I'm not, when my immune system's dipping and I need that extra boost. And then the other thing that I like to take is a probiotic, which I take every day. We've all heard over and over again, 80% of our immunity lies in our gut. So how amazing that we've got these amazing probiotics now in South Africa as a supplement. And the one that's in a capsule form is called Life 9. And I take the supplement every night before I go to bed. I think it's great to take it just before you get into bed, so it gives your the whole night for because it's filled with got 9 strains of bacteria and 17 billion live cultures. So really great to take at night so that your good bacteria can multiply in your stomach as you sleep. And also I wouldn't take it, you're not supposed to take it with inner defense. So don't take it with essential oils. So that's why I would do the inner defense in the morning and then the Life 9 at night. But this is something that my entire family takes to feed to improve our gut flora, because your gut is so important for immunity. And I actually was listening to Lindsay Gramont, who's one of our uplines, and she was talking about allergies. And she was talking about lemon, lavender and peppermint for allergies, but also about rubbing Digize on your stomach and taking Life 9 for allergies as well. And it was like an aha moment, because we've all heard how important our gut health is, but I just didn't link it with allergies and the Digize and the Life 9. So during those seasons here in South Africa, April, September, that's when I suffer the most with allergies. You can actually increase your Life 9 at night. I don't think you can overdose on Life 9. I just find that when I am feeling like I'm dipping, my wellness is dipping, I'll take more than 1 Life 9 at night, just to make sure that my gut is in good condition. And then for the kiddies, or not only for the kiddies, they've got this new supplement called Mighty Pro, which is also probiotic. It comes in these little cute little sachets. So you just open the sachet and the kids can lick it off their hand, or my son likes to put it in yogurt and eat it out of the yogurt tub. This has got 8 strains of bacteria in it, and it also has prebiotics, which the Life 9 actually doesn't have, which is great because you need prebiotics to feed the good bacteria in your gut. So I love the supplement, and now with all of us going on holiday and Life 9 needs to be refrigerated, it's so great that we can take these with us instead. So I travel with the Mighty Pro probiotic for the whole family because it doesn't need to stay in the fridge, and it's delicious. It's very sour, but kids love it, and I think adults like it too. So really important now to build up our good gut bacteria and to keep our immune system healthy. And now I think I'm handing over to Sam.
Thank you, Adi. So I am talking about gut health, which is kind of being the stem of a lot of the conversation tonight. But the irony is that just before I started using Young Living essential oils, my daughter had been on the only ever antibiotic in her whole life of 1 year and 4 months. And she had been on the antibiotic for like the sniffles. Our pediatrician was like, you have to have an antibiotic because her nose isn't clearing up. And so we did it. And a few months later, she started having blood in her stool, and we couldn't really figure out what the cause was until our homeopath actually suggested that we did a stool sample. And the stool sample came back to say that she had contracted or developed, I don't really know how these things work, a bacteria called C. diff. Now, majority of people that have C. diff get it from being on an antibiotic. So the antibiotic that we were using to help her with a cold or a flu had then broken down her gut health completely. Because it had killed the good and the bad, it kind of just made the C. diff bacteria thrive. And I was very blessed to have been to a talk that Lara invited me to on using essential oils for children's immune systems. And Ali was there at the talk, and I had just decided to get a kit. And it was quite amazing, the kind of series of events. And I'm sorry for those of you that have heard the story 100 times before, because it really is my aha story. But Ali was in the car with me when the gastroenterologist phoned to tell us. So basically what happens is there's two antibiotics that they then use to kill the C. diff bacteria, which is just, I mean, it's ironic that the stuff that we need to have healthy guts, we also need to kill the bacteria, which then just have so many additional side effects. So she had been on one antibiotic in hospital, which had not worked. The C. diff had not died as it should have. And so she wanted us to try this next antibiotic. The next thing that we would have had to do was a fecal transplant, which thank God we didn't have to do. But Ali was in the car and she just said to me, Sam, would you be prepared to try some essential oils? And so we did. We used a combination of copaiba, diagize, and oregano, just rubbed onto her tummy and onto her feet for 3 weeks. And 3 weeks later, we did another stool sample, and the C. diff count was so low that the doctor was happy for us not to do another round of antibiotics. But we were concerned that it would always be an underlying issue. And so that was May last year. And in December last year, she had something upset tummy. And so we took her off for another stool sample, and the C. diff was gone. So not 0.01% of C. diff, absolutely 100%, 0% C. diff. So that was just, an amazing experience for us to see that these oils are powerful. And oregano is a natural antibiotic, so it really helped to heal her gut. And surprisingly, we didn't actually do anything else in terms of gut health at the time. She's a very fussy, now 3-year-old, and so it's hard to get her to eat all of the things that she needs to eat to have a healthy gut. But we are so well supported by our oils, and I can't wait to add in these supplements on top of that. So yeah, it's and also on top of that, we haven't seen a doctor or been on antibiotics or anything since we've incorporated essential oils into our life. So we have all kind of had sniffles, and we've followed the protocols that have been discussed tonight and taken capsules and done all of those things and managed to treat ourselves naturally, which has really been amazing. So yeah, thank you. And I'm handing to Andy.
Hi, everyone. So I'm going to talk about 2 supplements that have been mentioned that really have changed my life. So here is sulfazyme, and this is capsules. And then obviously Ninja Red's been mentioned a lot, and this comes in sachets. So about a year ago, no more, July last year, I had a really croaky voice, and I've had nodules on my voice box before. So I thought they'd come back, and I had them a procedure surgically removed, and everything was fine. So now they'd come back, and I went to see a ear, nose and throat specialist, and he actually found that I didn't have nodules on my voice box, but a huge amount of silent reflux and a lot of inflammation around my voice box. And this was causing me to just constantly lose my voice, and it was really croaky. So as they would do, he put me on to Nexium for the reflux, and I was put on for like 3 months. And then he said, come back in 3 months and we'll, you know, continue for another 3 months and whatever. And yeah, they work, but it's really not a long-term healthy solution. So I couldn't understand. I wanted to really just get to the bottom of why did I have this? I had no heartburn. I had it during pregnancies, but this was silent. I didn't feel any of it. But it's also really not good because it's a predisposition to Barrett's syndrome. So it's like an esophageal cancer. So anyway, I started taking Sulfazam and Ninja. So I felt that my body was really acidic, and I needed to change that. So I also drink a lot of water with a few drops of the lemon oil. So I do that every morning, but I took the Ninja as well every morning. So that became my multivitamin, and then the Sulfazam. So the Sulfazam, the benefit here is that the main ingredient is MSM. I think Ali mentioned it, but it's really good, okay, for many things. One is inflammation. It's really, really good for inflammation in our systems. And so I had a lot of inflammation around my voice box, so that's what I was focusing on. But the benefit, I also suffer from psoriasis, so which also is works with inflammation in the system. So the more I could manage that, the better. So of course you've got to monitor what you eat, and of course food comes into it. But this Sulfazam really gave it a good boost. It also really helps with the MSM is really good for your skin, for hair, for nails. So that was brilliant, just a huge plus, and it's also helped me overall manage my psoriasis. But in taking Sulfazam, 2 capsules every morning for a year, and then taking the Ninja as well, something had completely changed. And without taking the Nexium, I took it for a couple of months. Without taking it again, I've completely healed my voice and changed you know, what's going on inside my system. I don't feel the same acidity, and I don't have the reflux, and I don't have the issues. So yeah, so that was the last doctor I saw. It was July a year in 2019. Thank goodness for you know, I use everything that the ladies have spoken about. So the wellness roller, my family and kids, capsules, and tons of thieves and frankincense. We use a lot of frankincense for immune boosting as well. So and the minute I feel something scratchy or something, I just frankincense on the crown of your head, frankincense on my throat when there's a sore throat. But the Sulfazam and the Ninja are just non-negotiable. That is constantly in the house, and that's every morning. And just trying to get my kids all take the Ninja as well, but just trying to get my husband onto the Sulfazam. And the other thing with Sulfazam actually is really good for joints and arthritis. So my husband's had some knee issues, and so that's, you know, he needed a reason. He wouldn't just take it, but he's starting to take the Sulfazam, and it helps that it's now available in South Africa. I used to get it from the US. So yep, everyone needs these in their home and for their immune systems.
Thank you so much, Andy. And thank you everyone for sharing your stories and your input. Because I think as much as you can talk around the science, which there's so much science behind plant medicine, it's really nice to hear when something actually works for someone you can see. So with that, I'm just going to open it up for any questions. If anyone has any questions, we're right at the top of the